So then what are you teaching your kids now? How are you approaching all of this with them?
So it's interesting. It's an interesting part of my story is that we implemented a system called 50-40-10. That's what we call it now with our kids, where they would get an allowance for doing chores. It was always tied to them doing something to help out around the house. And as they got older, that got a little bit more complicated. And finally, when we got to the point to where cleaning the bathroom was on the list, my wife and I were ecstatic, right? That when we finally got to that level of help around the house. And in the beginning, we would pay them in beans, little uncooked beans, because they could count them out and put them in their little bag. And at the end of the month, we would trade their beans for coins or money or whatever. But we would make them split their beans up 50-40-10. So 50% of their beans they could spend on anything they wanted. We had veto power, but we pretty much gave them freedom to spend it on what they wanted. Then the 40% they had to invest it, not save it, invest it. So kind of that idea of take some risk, mostly in the form of buying stock in public companies. But my oldest daughter, I launched an investment fund and invited investors to come in. And she said, "Hey, could I invest in your fund?" And so she gave me $1,000 and invested in my fund. And I just did it kind of on the side with her. But we encouraged them to invest in different things. My son would invest his money in just little side hustles, right? And then the 10% was give your money away to some cause to make the world a better place. So that was the system that we used. And the reason why that's interesting is because I wasn't following that in my life at the time. But as I watched my kids start to build a multi-thousand and then over $10,000 of net worth as kids, because they were investing a big chunk of their very small salaries,
Yeah.
I just was like, what would happen if we did that in our lives? And I just kind of did the math and I showed my wife, and it was astonishing what could happen if we would take even our meager salary of $9.20 an hour, if we would take 40% of that and invest it aggressively and expect strong returns, what would happen over the course of a couple of decades. And so we invested 40% of our salary from that day until now, because I was watching my kids build crazy wealth for a kid. And I was like, well, why can't we do it? Why would we expect them to do it and we can't do it? So
Yeah.
that's what we did.
That's a very financial independence, retire early movement type of mindset. And I love that, because if your kids grow up in that mindset, then that just becomes normal to them. If you just grew up like, yeah, I've always set this money aside and look at what it's done for me. Thanks for watching. Please give us a thumbs up below. And if you want to check out the full conversation, hit the link below to subscribe and check out new episodes of the FI for Kids podcast every Thursday.